Loki then steals the Space Stone and uses it to flee. Rogers is successful in stealing the Mind Stone from undercover Hydra agents, but he encounters his past self, who misidentifies him as a disguised Loki. After defeating past Steve, Rogers rejoins Stark and Lang, who must now devise a new method of obtaining the Space Stone without exhausting the limited supply of Pym particles that allow them to travel through the quantum realm. Lang returns to the present with the Mind Stone, while Rogers and Stark devise a plan to steal the Space Stone from a U.S. Army installation in the 1970s, as well as additional Pym particle vials to make the journey back home. During his visit, Rogers notices Peggy Carter, and Stark has a meaningful conversation with his father Howard. Rocket and Thor journey to Asgard in order to retrieve the Reality Stone before Malekith employs it against the Nine Realms. Thor is reminded that his mother, Frigga, is about to die and has a chance encounter with her while Rocket steals the ether, the vaporized version of the Reality Stone, from Jane Foster. After Frigga counsels Thor, the two return to Earth, and Thor retrieves his hammer Mjolnir, delighted to discover that he is still worthy of it. Nebula and Rhodes journey to Morag in order to steal the Power Stone before Peter Quill. Nebula malfunctions and remains on Morag as Rhodes returns to the present with the Power Stone. Thanos and Ebony Maw discover the presence of future Nebula and go to kidnap her using two consciousnesses operating on Nebula's systems. Nebula recognizes what has occurred and attempts to warn the others, but it is too late. Thanos scans her memories and discovers the Avengers' plan, then sends the more loyal Nebula from the past back to the present as a spy. Barton and Romanoff travel to Vormir in search of the Soul Stone, but are conflicted when Red Skull, the stone's keeper, informs them that it can only be obtained by sacrificing someone they care about. The two spar over who will make the sacrifice, with Romanoff eventually taking the fall, and a distraught Barton returning to Earth with the Soul Stone. After everyone has returned to Earth, Stark, Rocket, and Banner set out to create a gauntlet to wield the stones, one made of the same nanotech as Stark's most recent Iron Man suit. Banner volunteers to wear the gauntlet and bring back everyone who vanished in Thanos' snap, reasoning that he can withstand both the gamma radiation and the excruciating pain and injury caused by the stones. He succeeds, but they are attacked almost immediately by Thanos, who has been brought to Earth by the imposter Nebula, destroying the quantum portal. Thanos raises the Avengers headquarters, dividing the team and allowing the gauntlet to fall into the hands of Barton. The future Nebula is killed by her future self while attempting to steal the Infinity Stones from Barton, while Rogers, Thor, and Stark confront Thanos, who decides to use the Infinity Stones to destroy the universe and create one in his vision instead. The three go one-on-one with Thanos, with Rogers confirming Thor's theory that he is worthy of wielding Mjolnir, but they are all defeated by Thanos. T'Challa appears before Rogers shortly after Thanos' army lands on Earth, along with all of the Avengers and other allies revived by Banner, before launching an assault on Thanos and his army. Thanos wrestles with numerous Avengers for the Infinity Stones after a lengthy battle in which Stark is reunited with Parker and Quill is reunited with past Gamora. Thanos orders Glaive to have his ship fire multiple energy blasts when he is bound by Wanda Maximoff's energy, nearly destroying the Avengers' efforts. Captain Marvel reappears, destroying Thanos' ship while battling for control of the Infinity Gauntlet. Clint Barton is shown in the beginning teaching his daughter how to shoot an arrow while his wife prepares a picnic meal for them on their remote property. The effect of Thanos snapping his fingers after obtaining all 6 Infinity Stones is Clint's daughter disappearing, along with the rest of Clint's family and half of all life in the universe. After being defeated by Thanos on Titan, Nebula and Tony Stark are left stranded in space. Carol Danvers brings them back to Earth where they are reunited with Natasha Romanoff, Bruce Banner, Steve Rogers, Rocket, Thor, and James Rhodes. The gang devises a plot to kidnap the Infinity Stones from Thanos and use them to undo his deeds, but upon locating him, they discover that he has already destroyed the stones once, prohibiting their further usage. He explains to the remaining Avengers that he did this to prevent using the stones for any other evil plans. Thor beheads Thanos out of wrath, arguing that he should have done it in Wakanda. Scott Lang leaves the quantum realm 5 years later to find that Cassie is now a teenager and that Hope Van Dyne, along with half the population, was taken by the snap. While Romanoff is continuously maintaining watch over both Earth and the rest of the cosmos with the assistance of Rhodes, Danvers, Okoye, Rocket, and Nebula, Rogers has been leading grief counseling sessions for survivors still dealing with the aftereffects of the snap. Lang goes to Romanoff and Rogers and explains that although it had been 5 years for them, it had only been 5 hours for him and that time stretched very differently there. The three go to Stark, who is now co-parenting a child with Pepper Potts, and express their hypothesis that the Infinity Stones can be stolen from Thanos before he can collect them by using the quantum realm to travel back in time. After considering the loss of Peter Parker, Stark initially rejects their suggestion out of concern for his family and the tranquility he has attained. However, after reflecting on the loss of Peter Parker, Stark decides to test new theoretical models that would be compatible with Lang's quantum tunnel and eventually finds one his own and uses them to burn Thanos and his entire army to ash, triumphantly proclaiming, "I am Iron Man." Parker and Potts console Stark as he dies from radiation exposure from the stones. Following the battle, the Avengers hold a memorial service for Stark, whose Mark I arc reactor is floating in the lake next to his house. Barton and Wanda Maximoff find comfort in the fact that Romanoff and Vision, who did not survive Thanos' snap, would be proud of their victory. Thor appoints Valkyrie as Queen of Asgard and joins the Guardians of the Galaxy in order to discover his true purpose, free of the responsibilities of royalty and leadership for the first time in his life. Parker returns to school, where he is reunited with his best friend Ned, while Barton returns home to his family. Meanwhile, Rogers is tasked with returning the stones and Thor's hammer to their original timelines, but instead chooses to stay in the past with Carter for the rest of his life. He reappears as an old man before Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, passing his shield and the mantle of Captain America to Wilson. In a brief flashback, Rogers and Carter are in an ordinary-looking house, finally sharing the dance they never got to have in their living room, finally happy. With Stark on board, the remaining Avengers set out to rebuild their team. Bruce Banner has now accepted the Hulk as a part of himself, fusing his own and the Hulk's consciousnesses into one. After hearing from Rhodes about an assassin using similar methods to Barton, Romanoff sets out to find him. Barton, consumed with grief after the loss of his family, has been operating under the alias Ronin, while brutally massacring criminal cartels and gangs all over the world in an attempt to improve the world that remains. Natasha tracks him down in Japan, and after some persuasion, he agrees to rejoin the team in order to try to reunite him with his family. Banner and Rocket travel to New Asgard, a small town where Valkyrie and the last Asgardian survivors have settled. They find Thor, who is overcome with guilt for failing to kill Thanos in Wakanda. Thor has gained weight, his hair and beard have grown out, and he spends his free time eating junk food, drinking, and playing Fortnite with his friends Korg and Meek. Thor reluctantly agrees to rejoin the Avengers after some persuasion from Rocket and Banner. The Avengers are reunited with a plan after testing the quantum time machine on Barton, who confirms that it works. Banner, Rogers, Lang, and Stark set out to retrieve the time, mind, and space stones during the Battle of New York in 2012. Banner travels to the Sanctum Sanctorum, where the Ancient One informs him that removing the Time Stone from her timeline will prevent Stephen Strange from preventing Caecilius from destroying nature's laws in the future. When Banner tells her that Strange willingly gave up the Time Stone to Thanos, she lets him have it, implying that Strange had planned for a specific sequence of events to occur in order for Thanos to be defeated. Banner also promises that the stones will be returned to their proper timelines to avoid any negative consequences. After the Avengers seize Loki's Space Stone, Lang and Stark attempt to steal it. Lang causes a mild cardiac arrest in Stark's past self by pulling a circuit in his artificial heart, while Stark steals the briefcase containing the Tesseract when no one is looking. Their plan is foiled when Stark drops the briefcase after being hit by the Hulk by accident.